Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us once again on the State of Freedom.
The State of Freedom is a listener-supported podcast. We're committed to pursuing the truth about policymaking, decisions, and situations in Louisiana and at the national level that stand to impact our freedoms.
Please become a monthly supporter of the State of Freedom at freedomstate.us as we continue to expand the voice of liberty across Louisiana and beyond.
If you're looking to invest in physical precious metals or convert your 401k to a precious metals backed IRA, please consider making your investment with our trusted partner, Metal Stacks. Their prices regularly beat the big sites and they have no credit card fees or minimums. Shipping is free for orders over $500. Just visit metalstacks.com/dwalker or get there from our website, freedomstate.us. If you're interested in the IRA conversion, drop me a message at Danielle at freedomstate.us and I can get you connected with their white glove service. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the State of Freedom, where we are grounded in faith in the Constitution and we are committed to giving voice to the truth, living with courage, and taking action. It is Tuesday, November 25th. It's 10 a.m. Central, and I'm Danielle Walker, and I'm joined by my friend and co-host, the watchdog in chief of Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group, Chris Alexander, the one and only.
Good morning, Danielle. How are you?
Great. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
We are coming to you live, folks, on Voice of the People USA TV and radio network on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. You can also catch us later anytime you want on our audio-only platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcast. And it looks like one of our guests may have dropped off, but let me bring Gary forward, and maybe Mark will join us here in a second. Good morning, Gary. Let me get my little act together here. Yeah, here we go.
Good morning.
All right. Good morning. All right. Well, joining us again to give an update on the ongoing fight against eminent domain for carbon capture are our friends Gary Musgrove and Mark Guillory. Gary is a U.S. Air Force veteran who's retired from the Louisiana National Guard, and he is the owner of Kisatchie Hills Nursery. Sorry, I choke on that every time. And Mark Guillory is also a retired U.S. Air Force vet who served as the legislative assistant to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as well as various other Air Force Pentagon level positions. And what we have today to discuss is just going to absolutely astound you. So maybe just so we all don't lose our collective minds, mostly me and Chris, I'm sure y'all will be very calm and collected.
Of course.
Let me read the scripture of the day. It is Psalms chapter 35, verses 1 through 10. And I'll do something a little different today. I just want to read this over us as a prayer this morning. And it says, "O Lord, fight for me. Harass the hecklers, accuse my accusers. Fight those who fight against me. Put on your armor, Lord. Take up your shield and protect me. Rise up, mighty God. Grab your weapons of war and block the way of the wicked who come to fight me. Stand for me when they stand against me. Speak over my soul. I am your strong Savior. Humiliate those who seek my harm. Defeat them all. Frustrate their plans to defeat me and drive them back. Disgrace them all as they have devised their plans to disgrace me. Blow them away like dust in the wind with the angel of Almighty God driving them back. Make the road in front of them nothing but slippery darkness, with the angel of the Lord behind them chasing them away. For though I did nothing wrong to them, they set a trap for me, wanting me to fall and fail. Surprise them with your ambush, Lord, and catch them in the very trap they set for me. Let them be the ones to fail and fall into destruction. Then my fears will dissolve into limitless joy, and my whole being will overflow with gladness because of your mighty deliverance. Everything inside of me will shout it out. There's no one like you, Lord, for look at how you protect the weak and helpless from the strong and heartless who oppress them."
And Danielle, the reason why David was asking God to do those things was because David was clearly on the side of truth and righteousness and justice, and they were on the side of evil. And clearly, in this fight with carbon capture sequestration in our state, all Gary Musgrove, Mark Guillory, and thousands of others are asking for is that our tax dollars not be spent on a scam and that our property not be expropriated against our will in pursuit of that scam. Those are very reasonable requests based clearly in the Constitution, and our government is systematically violating both our fiscal uh, stewardship and our property rights.
Yeah.
And these two guys who are with us today are on the front lines, the tip of the spear. Great respect for both of them. Gary and Mark, thank you all for joining us this morning on the State of Freedom for a little while.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Colonel Guillory, the lawsuit has finally been filed, thank God, asserting the absolute grossly unconstitutional nature of this land grab in favor of private industry in Louisiana. The heart of the lawsuit is that eminent domain by private companies violates the Constitution for so many different reasons. Tell us about the lawsuit, where it was filed, and where it stands now.
Yeah. Well, it was on this past Thursday, as you just pointed out. We filed it in the 19th Judicial District down in Baton Rouge, in East Baton Rouge. It's now in the wickets. Where's it going to go from now? This is where the game starts. So we're on the field. The court has about 7 days before it actually gets to the judge, and then the whole process starts. We're obviously going to have to start dealing with all those pieces about claims that we don't have standing, claims, and then we'll have to rebuff those, merit, and all of those things that are involved in what a court case starts. One thing important to understand is this is not going to be solved in 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months. It's going to take a long time before we even actually get to a trial to start squeezing out all of this information in the public sphere, on the record, inside of a court for everyone to see, and to start those arguments that are going to be necessary in a controlled environment, unemotional, allegedly unemotional, controlled environment, to really understand the words on the page. Do they support property rights, or do they not? The revised statutes that the legislature has created, do they take away property rights for egregiously and for unnecessary purposes, or not? So we get this thing placed inside of a controlled environment to discuss it and find out where we go. So it's going to take a while.
Yeah. On the standing issue, Colonel, the plaintiffs that are in the suit now are individuals who have either been aggrieved, have either had their property expropriated, or perhaps were coerced into signing some agreement allowing their property to be expropriated under threat of eminent domain, or are on the cusp of having one of those two things occur. Is that right?
Partially. So we have there are no plaintiffs in the case that have actually had their property expropriated. However, we have multiple people that have been threatened that their property would be, specifically one of the plaintiffs in the case was threatened. The company showed up, Danbury showed up and said, "We want to use your property for this." He said, "I don't think I want to do that." And then he was threatened with eminent domain, and then signed. We do have other plaintiffs that were threatened who said no, or were asked, approached. They said no, and then they were threatened, and they said no again. So both of those plaintiffs are under threat. One was forcibly was forced into an agreement, and then the other is now he's got this threat over him constantly that the company could come along and decide, no, we really do need your property, and we're going to take it from you. We'll pay you what we think is equitable, what the secretary thinks is equitable, which of course is a violation of the Constitution in and of itself. That's a jury of your peers get to make that decision in Article 1, Section 4, not the secretary. So there is the case there. In terms of other people that have standing, there are others who are in the general area that eventually the beast is going to come to them and say, we want to take away your land. So they have a legitimate reason to say, I'm concerned about what's going to happen. I'm watching what's going on around me in a 10, 20-mile radius, and eventually that's going to come to me. And what am I going to do? I don't want to be under this threat. You're threatening other people. You're probably going to threaten me.
Yes. And with this streamlined process, Colonel, that was laid out in some very recent legislation, it was a process that actually accelerates the approval of these permits statutorily, and a finding of whether or not these folks are a common carrier for purposes of eminent domain. It really accelerates that process. So you have a strong argument that these plaintiffs are under threat of immediate and irreparable harm if the court doesn't take action sooner rather than later. Is that fair?
Oh, it's absolutely fair. Yeah, and the permits that you're talking about, are you talking about permitting the wells or providing a certificate of public convenience and necessity?
Both.
These are okay,
Well,
because
well,
these
I
are
think,
two landmines that there's permitting the wells. There's a whole piece on environmental issues and all that sort of thing. But then when it comes to this idea of convenience and necessity, which private organizations are given these certificates, or there's a whole list of requirements you have to go through in order to qualify as a company that can receive a certificate of public convenience and necessity. All of those pieces are tied to this concept of public purpose, which ties to a concept of public utility. And in 1108, I think it's in 1108, Title 30, 1108, where the law very clearly says that carbon capture, sequestration, transportation will not in any way, quote, whatsoever, be considered a public utility. Well, how in the world are you getting a certificate of public convenience and necessity when you are clearly told you are not a utility? Title 19, all that long list that the government can use to authorize eminent domain to private companies. Those are not just any private companies. That whole list is all public utility things. They are things that you and Danielle and Gary, all of us can utilize those services. I
yes.
cannot utilize the service of a CO2 pipeline.
Yeah. And Colonel Guillory, as you were talking, just this vision came to me. I just was envisioning feudal England, right? And we're all peasants, and they're just telling us what's going to happen with the property that we're working on behalf of the state. That's not the reality that we live in America. It shouldn't be the reality we live in America. Do you have any reason, based on what you're saying here, that these people are being threatened? These landowners are being threatened by these companies. Do you have any reason to believe that these companies are acting in good faith or the best interest of the people of those communities? I mean, even with reasonable care to the people of those communities?
Well, I think despite what these companies may say, we're bringing economic prosperity to the area. We're going to give some money to schools. We're going to do all these sort of stuff. What they're, quote, giving is a drop in the bucket to what they're going to make. You've got to be very clear about these companies there's one group with whom interest is important, and it is not you. It is them. It is their companies. It is what the kind of money that they want to make and the resources that they want to garner from this. They do not give two hoots about how it affects your 5 acres or your 10 acres or your 100 acres. That's immaterial to them. What is material to them are the billions of dollars that they're going to rake off of taxpayers in order to make this happen. What will it do to their land? Gary is probably going to talk in a few minutes about, and we've talked about this before, about the environmental disaster that could happen. Well, you're saying it could happen. What if it doesn't? If it doesn't, that's awesome, but I'm not willing to take the risk.
Yeah.
I'm not going to destroy 48% of the water in Louisiana on your hope that it's going to be okay, because it might not happen. On top of that, I'm not willing to have a rider on my property that says I've got toxic waste buried underneath. What do you think that's going to do with my property value? So your question is, what is their interest? Where is this going to look at? If we look at the whole arc of where this is going, let's consider what the plan is. If you're going to, if your argument is so weak that you can't convince a customer or convince a landowner that it's safe and it's good and that you're going to pay them enough to take the risk, that it's so weak, you have to create in law the authority to forcibly take what you cannot arguably take. And so, and that, when you get to that point, it should create a question for all of us. What is your interest? Eventually, when they get to the point where they forcibly take enough land, then all the other land and property around that becomes far less worthless. It was not a coincidence that these new laws took power away from the judicial, gave it to the executive to decide about equitable value to pay a property owner. Because if I own 10 acres surrounded by 200 and all that 200 was either agreeably leased or forcibly leased by some company, what do you think the value of my property is going to be? Who gets to determine the equitable value? That company does. And they can decide that my property is not worth 200,000, it's only worth about 50. So, that's equitable. And the jury piece is taken completely out, which the Constitution requires. And the jury may look at that. That's the three of you on a jury looking at a company taking away my property and saying, no, Mark's property is worth far more than that.
Yeah.
Are y'all finding some, sorry, Chris, are y'all finding some strange allies in this? Because it kind of also harkens back to the Industrial Revolution, where the rights of the people were completely overrun by corporate interests, to the grave detriment of the people who are actually doing, working in the factories and things like that. I know this isn't the exact same thing, but the power of the institution versus the people is kind of what I'm seeing here. Are people who are, we've had someone on the show who's concerned about the environmental impact. Are you seeing other folks join this cause who you may not have expected?
Oh yes. And when we move into our next phase of our legal actions, which will be environmental, we're going to have to contend with that. There are lots of environmental organizations out there that we don't agree with everything that they have to say and their overall ideology of life and philosophy and that sort of stuff. But what we do all agree on is you can't poison our water. Well, does that mean we don't work with them? Does that mean there will be the governor's office, I'm sure legislators who are opposed to us are going to try to connect us to everything that another organization agrees with. That's an absurdity. The four of us can agree on 95% of some idea and then vehemently disagree on the one other item. That doesn't mean that we're enemies. It does mean that we have a political disagreement and we've got to work together. And it also means that whatever the issue, that you don't want any fishing whatsoever in the Gulf of America, and the next guy says, well, don't care about fishing, I want oil and gas. We can find a way to get in between all of that kind of stuff and agree with each other. We don't have to agree with everything that they say. Now, that is going to be a tactic of the legislature and the governor because they want to discredit us. Yeah. They want, and you think about the absurdity of it. So I don't want my water to be poisoned, and you're going to discredit me because I'm going to work with some other organization that has a more radical view of some environmental issue somewhere. It's an absurdity.
It is. There's no question about it. But what I'm gathering from your comments here, Mark, is that industry by and large is really not dealing in good faith with these landowners, doing nothing to reassure them about either the value of their property or trying to give them any kind of consideration about the safety of this or anything. They have one objective, that's to get the land, to do whatever they need to do to accomplish their objectives. And really, I just think we need to forewarn any property owners who are listening to the show that whatever you hear from industry who is in communication with you, you need to be very, very skeptical about anything that they tell you. because everything they do is designed to achieve a very specific and what we believe very ignoble objective. So thank you for pointing that out to us, Mark. It means
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah,
Um,
and Chris, along with that, I also want to point out to the companies that are doing this, when you threaten someone, that is those are legitimate threats. It's under duress. That is illegal under Louisiana
Yeah.
law. It's also important under law that you tell someone all the information. If what is the difference between what makes a lie? Some people will say, well, you say anything untrue, an untrue statement is a lie. Well, that's not necessarily a lie. A lie is a purpose to deceive. I can tell you a story that is full of all factually true statements, and I can still lie to you. Politicians do this all the time. Because what I'm trying to do is tell you all these factually true things to get you to a point to believe this, which may not be the full truth, and therefore it is a purpose to deceive you. It is a lie. In Louisiana law, that is fraud. If I come to you and say, I want to put a pipeline through here, it's just like an oil pipeline. It's a little bit different, but it's the same. And oh no, it's carbon, the stuff in the Coke. It's safe, it's effective, or not effective, it's safe, it's efficient, it's all those kind of things. It's okay. And I don't give you the rest of the potential troubles. I am giving you some factually true information. I'm leaving out a lot of information because the whole point is I want to deceive you into believing something that isn't true. That deception is the lie.
Yep.
And people are being told that lie, and they're signing these things later when they found out that, oh my goodness, I didn't realize what this was. And they told me it was okay. They told me it was safe. They told me it was just like an oil and gas lease. And it's not that at all. I didn't realize I was giving away my surface and subsurface. They said it was all standard statements. Again, some of it lying, some of it factually true, all of it a deception. That's fraud.
yeah.
Under Louisiana law, as I understand it, if you don't tell someone the whole truth, you're deceiving them, you're lying
That's
to them. That's
absolutely because
fraud.
it's impossible to give full and informed consent if you're not getting the whole truth.
Yeah, that's
Mark, the gravest heresies have the most alluring kernels of truth in them.
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what you're saying here, and I couldn't agree with you more. Gary, let me ask you this
Chris,
about.
let me ask
Yeah,
you.
go ahead.
Let me ask
Yeah.
you something real quick. So, exactly what you were just describing, Colonel Guillory, is something that we may hear from the legislature as well. That we didn't know. These people came in front of us and they testified, and they didn't
Great
give us all
point.
the facts. Is
Mhm.
there any recourse for people who testify before our legislature that are testifying falsely? I believe the recourse for the legislature needs to be go in and do something different, go and fix your mistake. If you were under false pretenses, say that and go and fix it. But what happens? I mean, is there any penalty for having lied to the legislature?
Mm. Yeah, Chris.
Well, I'll say that if they are not tested, obviously everyone is expected to tell the truth, but except under very rare circumstances, like when an executive nominee is being reviewed by a Senate committee. Only rare exceptions do people testify under oath. So there wouldn't be any criminal repercussion for someone lying under oath in that sense, but politically there should be massive fallout. The legislature should note that and should absolutely give them no credibility when they come back to testify on any other issue before the legislature. So there can be major consequences, but because they're not testifying under oath, I don't think there could be any either civil action or certainly criminal prosecution against them for that.
Maybe they could be censured or banned from testifying again, though.
That
Perhaps.
absolutely. Some of us were temporarily banned from legislative committees for telling the truth, and you're looking at one of them. And so, if that can be done, perhaps someone could be banned or censured for lying. But yeah, that's a great question, Danielle. But Gary, Danielle and I, Danielle almost jumped through the phone this morning when I was talking to her about the Sungas beaver issue in Rapides Parish, and I want you to lay this out. But based upon what we're reading here, it looks as though there may have been some deliberate orchestrated collusion between the Louisiana economic development, between the state and this private industry in order to get a $300 million tax abatement for a project in Rapides Parish. Could you tell us what's going on with this?
Yes, and it's up to the Louisiana Economic Development to come out and give receipts and explain why this took place. Now, here's what happened. I did a FOIA request on Sungas's Beaver Lake Renewable project in Rapides Parish. This is a company that wants to take feedstock from the byproduct of the wood industry and condense it through a system and get low carbon methanol fuel, diesel fuel for maritime use. So when I got the FOIA request back and started going through it, looking at the purchasing list, looking at their tax exemption application, I came across an email from the administrator of the program. His name is HUD Usis. And in his email, he specifically stated that, and I have the language here, he said that in order to qualify for your tax exemption program, and now I'm paraphrasing, the language in your application, carbon capture and sequestration, you must remove in order to qualify for the tax exemption. Why is that? That's because capturing carbon, condensing it for sequestration is not an integral part to the manufacturing process. Therefore, ineligible for the industrial tax exemption program. Well, I never saw the actual application, the first application, but Mr. Usis took the application language, copied it from the original application, and put it into his email, addressing that to the executive, Mr. Robert Rigdon, telling him exactly what to do and reapply. He did reapply, and in that second application, that language was indeed removed, and granting them the tax exemption program. In this case, it's based on the purchasing list of what this manufacturer of methanol is $1.8 billion is the purchasing list total. So their tax abatement is based on that. And this tax abatement program or exemption program allows for 80% in tax abatements of that. So abating 80% of that product listing equates to about $292 million over 10 years that Rapides Parish will not see. That would go to schools, sheriff, the police jury, road maintenance, and so forth. By eliminating that, it leaves Rapides Parish with roughly $73 million in tax, ad valorem tax. So the explanation at this point from Sungas is that they said, well, we were thinking about sequestering and we weren't. So we're going to take that language out of the second application because we're not going to sequester on the property. We're going to send that to another vendor, which is Capture Point and the Sinlaw Hub. Those injection sites are in Rapides and Vernon Parish. Okay, let's just say that for argument, which I don't buy it at all, that you're correct. Let's go back and look at the actual plant itself. Go to their website. Their own website will tell you that this S1000 gasification plant, it was purposely designed off another gasification plant that Mr. Robert Rigdon oversaw called the UGAS reactor. That was with another company, SES. Both of these plants were patented out of GTI, which is the Gas Technology Institute nonprofit organization. So think of it, let's get to the big picture. You have an NGO, a non-governmental organization, nonprofit organization, and they are taking money from the Department of Defense and the Department of Energy so that they can come up with the green energy that under the Biden administration Infrastructure Act that was passed. So now they are developing green energy platforms. One of them, which was the S1000, specifically designed so that it would capture carbon, compress it, then transport it in the state necessary for sequestration inside the fence of their operation. We stay on their side of the fence. We look at their plant. Their plant, in order to get the product that they're producing, is low carbon methanol. So part of that plant's operation, the majority of that plant's operation, is to sequester that carbon dioxide, compress it to a volatile state, put it in their pipelines on their premises to get it to their fence line so that the other vendor, which is Capture Point Energy, can take it from there and transport it via pipeline to the injection well.
So Gary, just to stop you real quick.
Yeah.
So that means that the final product that they're producing is low carbon, but the property that it's traveling on is extremely high carbon. I mean, it's not like they get rid of the carbon, they just put it somewhere else, right?
That's correct. They're scrubbing their emissions. They're scrubbing it from the processing of the seed stock, the wood. They're scrubbing that and compressing it to the state where it needs to be sequestered. All those processes are taking place within the plant itself. So when you look at the purchasing listing that they submitted to the Louisiana Economic Development, that tax exemption is on all of that. That is a pre the post product is the low carbon methanol. But to get to that process, the majority of that plant was tax exempt. That has nothing to do, that is not integral to the manufacturing process, because you can process methanol without scrubbing the carbon for sequestration.
Gary, what happens
Mhm.
ultimately to the carbon capture? I mean, to the carbon in this process you're describing? Where does the carbon that is scrubbed end up?
Under our ground.
Okay, so I'm asking to ask this. So everything about this, including the historical record of this company and prior projects in which it has engaged, everything about the nature of what they're seeking and the processes that are being described in their applications, all strongly militate in favor of the conclusion that they're going to be doing carbon capture and sequestration. But they take out one sentence in an application at the behest of the government agency that's supposed to approve this, and now everything's kosher, everything's good to go, without any commitment being extracted from this company by the government that they're not going to be doing carbon capture and sequestration.
That is absolutely correct. And here's the receipts.
Well, they are doing carbon.
This is what they said. What's that?
They are capturing the carbon.
They are
That's what
capturing
Gary is
carbon.
saying. That's what Gary's saying. They
Yeah,
may
that's what I'm
not be
saying.
pumping
Yeah.
into the ground there, but they're definitely capturing it and they're transporting it.
But ultimately, I guess my question would be: it would not be buried in the ground anywhere in Louisiana?
Oh yes, it will.
Okay, so the whole carbon capture and sequestration racket is very much in play here, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So what could be
Without
the
it,
purpose,
they
Gary?
couldn't get to their end product, which is the low carbon methanol.
Or the 45Q tax credits, right?
Correct.
Okay, so is there any other inference to be drawn here, Gary, other than we have our government acting in collusion with big industry in order to perpetrate a fraud on the citizens of our state? Is that a fair characterization?
That's the conclusion I'm coming up with right now until the Secretary of the Louisiana Department of Economic Development comes out and says otherwise. But I don't see how you get around with this. Here's the purchasing list: $1.8 billion, and it includes the compressors, it includes the pipelines, it includes all of that for the carbon capture and sequestration process, whether they sequester it on their premises or not.
irrelevant.
I just find this absolutely stunning, even even to the mind of someone who has seen some pretty significant government corruption. I mean, we have a government agency that is essentially guiding and acquiescing in, to say the least, a private company's lying in an application about what their real intent and what their real operations are in order to get a $300 million tax credit.
That is so
Absolutely.
insane to me. It's absolutely insane to me because, especially Chris, after this past legislative session where they did this big game of 3-card Monte, where they acted like they were lowering taxes for all Louisiana citizens, and they lowered the income tax even though they raised the sales tax. So they're going out of their way to make us feel like we have some tax reduction while they lie to our faces about it. And then they're giving away $300 million that could be supporting the state, that could be supporting Rapides Parish. They're just saying, you don't have to pay us for that. And if I remember correctly, Chris, when we were talking this morning before the show, you were saying that there was nothing to say that this company wouldn't have come with or without the tax credit.
Gary, that's a great
That's right.
point. Gary, I think you mentioned in your correspondence to LED that the company had already committed to an operational plant here in Louisiana. They didn't even need this incentive. Is that right?
That's correct. Why give it to them? And here's the other side of this approval, is local government. In order for this to be approved, it had to be approved by our local sheriff, had to be approved by our police jury, and our school board. All three of them approved it. And I went back and read their minutes. There was no questioning. It was a motion, a second, and approved. No questions, no talk, no discussion about how much that ad valorem tax that they're giving, other than it's 80%. 80% of what? Do you know how much tax that you are abating? Just because the Louisiana Economic Development says you're authorized to abate their tax, I haven't seen where it's a law that the local government must abide by what the state suggests for this program.
Great point. Such a great point, Gary.
And what it sounds like to me, Gary, is that they all got phone calls in advance telling them, instructing them that this would be the thing to do. Because I feel like that's how those votes go down. The votes that go down so easily for tax abatement by these organizations that stand to actually benefit their, their budgets, it doesn't make any sense.
Not at all.
Yeah. Colonel, what are your thoughts on this?
At the very least, it's nefarious. Well, my very first thought is, I don't care if you're giving me a tax abatement or not. I don't want you carbon in my ground. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to pay me $300 billion a year to my parish, and you're going to take the chance of destroying my land value and my water, no, I'm not interested. You can keep that money. We'll find another way to make money somehow. That much money,
Amen.
Not, but
Absolutely.
We'll find another way. So that's my first thing. My second thing is, I have no idea what these, what the sheriff was told, what the school board was told, what the police jury was told. We do know that when we were there 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we were asking questions of the Rapides Parish Police Jury, and Gary brought these things up, we know that there were some comments made by police jurors that was very clear that they had no idea what they were doing. So the question is, and this is a theme. The question is, did they know what Gary is talking about, or did the Louisiana Economic Development pull the wool over the police jury's eyes? So It's very possible that the police jury made, in part, made a made a decision with the information that they had. Now, that doesn't relieve them of the fact that what Gary said was 80% of what. Did you ask any other questions? Did you know how much money this was? Maybe they saw $75 million a year and thought, oh my goodness, that's $75 million a year for doing nothing. That's better than zero. But they didn't really ask the question any further than that. So that's kind of a problem. But the theme here is that partial information. This is back to my comments earlier about deceit, about a purpose of deception is what a lie is. We see this common theme everywhere, whether it's industry providing testimony to the legislature, whether it's the Louisiana Economic Development providing information to the police jury to make a decision, or whether it's legislators that are voting for bills they don't even read because they're listening to what industry is telling them, which is full of deceit for their interest, and their interest is to make as much money as possible off of the back of the people whom they're taking advantage of.
Yes.
And government is going along with it. The Louisiana Economic Development Director, or whatever his title is, he's going along with this by helping an industry deceive their application. It's not a deception to the director. He knew what was going on. He provided the deception, but to provide a deception so that they can legally get these tax abatements. No matter where you look, it's this deception by industry again, because their argument cannot stand on its own. So they have to find a way to deceive. And when deception doesn't work, they have to use force. And that's where the eminent domain piece comes in.
Yeah.
Those things alone should tell you this is not a good idea. The more you have to deceive, the more you have to force. Whoever heard it, you've heard the adage many times, if it sounds too good to be true, then what?
It probably
that's a great point.
Let
me ask you this, Gary. That's a great point, Colonel. Gary, what is is it possible, in light of all of the pushback that parish governments are getting now against carbon capture sequestration, is it reasonable to think that maybe a member of the police jury did contact LED or did contact the private company involved here to ask whether or not any of these processes will involve carbon capture and sequestration? And we're told, nope, no carbon capture sequestration here. You can green light this. Everything's good to go. I mean, if they're going to go in and alter to eliminate any reference in an application to carbon capture sequestration, why wouldn't they lie to a local police jury?
Very possible. I just don't have no evidence of that. I do know that there are some of the police jurymen in Rapides Parish who are just adamantly defending Sun Gas, Beaver Lake Renewables, that they are not a carbon capture sequestration company. Very adamant they're not going to do this. If they're sending it, and then on the flip side of that, they say they're not doing it. That's not the kind of plant they are. And then, without even realizing what the words are coming out their mouth, they say, "Well, they're sending their carbon to Vernon Parish." All right, put my layman's hat on. If you're going to send carbon to Vernon Parish, obviously they're capturing it. What are you talking about? They're not a carbon capture company. They are a carbon capture company. You just proved it, and you just can't compute what he just said. So yes, in my belief, and this is coming from, I don't have direct proof of this, but I know that there is one particular police juryman who has been escorting Sun Gas Beaver Lake Renewables around the town in private meetings, trying to sell the industry. But I don't have the proof of that. I've had, this is second party, third party information. And it was evident during our police jury meeting that he was very much defending Beaver Lake Renewables coming to Rapides Parish. Fine. But when I presented this to him, there was nothing. I mean, these guys, they didn't know. It was a deer in the headlight look when I presented this information to them. So to answer your question, I'm really not sure, but I'm not actually going to go out on a limb and say that, but I do know for sure that Sun Gas has been courting some of our police jurymen.
Yeah, and they may be misleading them too. They, in other words, the local police jurymen, they may be acting, many of them sincerely, in good faith, and being kept in the dark, just like everybody else is.
Very
except
well,
for people
absolutely.
like you who are willing to do the deep dive and see what's really going on.
Yeah. Okay. And Chris, if that's the case, and I think that it is the case in some cases, I think that's true. Well, then that means that you need to do something about it. That means
That's
you
right.
need to put on the brakes and put on the
Hmm.
brakes hard. You need to do what Alan has done, what Vernon has done, what other parishes have done, and say we're going to stop this right now until we figure out where the deception is, if there's been any. Let's figure this out. So if you were deceived, okay, it's time to stop it. I don't want you to do what legislators are doing and say, well, we didn't read it, we didn't understand it, but we're going to try to nibble around the edges to sort of fix it. No, the full response correctly is we were deceived, full stop, everything's going to stop. We're
Yeah.
going to, and we're going to figure this thing out. So yeah, it's possible that they were deceived. If you thought you were deceived, that's okay, sort of, but do something about it. Don't
Yeah.
just keep going along with it. Don't keep looking for ways to continue to reward this industry with holding their hands and then trying to continue to deceive citizens that it's all okay. Hey, there's no eminent domain when it comes to wells. That's not true. It's still there. All of it
Wow.
is still there.
Yeah.
And from our perspective, at least from LeCag's perspective, the state of freedom, we've been getting the sense that the citizens are increasingly aware of this eminent domain threat for carbon capture, and they're increasingly agitated by it through the work that y'all are doing with Save My Louisiana. Are you seeing that as well? How are people responding when they receive your message of all of the treachery?
Are they? It's first off, it's disbelief. They cannot believe what is happening, and then the next is what can we do to help? What can we do to stop it?
Yeah.
So
And speaking of
the
which,
only ones who are in favor of this is industry and politicians. That's
it's,
the only ones we find in favor of it.
that's exactly what our experience is. And I continue to say, Gary and Mark, that this issue, the issue of carbon capture sequestration, is the single most important issue in the state of Louisiana, on the same level with election security, because it's the only issue that I can think of that bears directly on our fiscal stability, on our money, on serious potential health consequences,
Mm-hmm.
and our core fundamental liberty interest in terms
Mm-hmm.
of private property.
Mm-hmm.
All three of those are directly impacted by this. So I think it's the most important issue in the world. And I want to give you the opportunity. I know Save My Louisiana is an outstanding organization. How do people donate? I know these lawsuits are not cheap. Industry is loaded, and they will try to bury you with paperwork and other nonsense before you can get to the finish line. So, how do people donate to Save My Louisiana in order to help continue to fund this lawsuit?
Well, if you just go to SaveMyLouisiana.org, there's a donation button there. Click on that and donate that way. There's also a way we can take checks. There's the address. You'll see it. Just go to our website and you'll see the donation button and click on it. And there's several ways you can donate
Yeah.
from the website.
And if there's ever a cause, and I hope everybody who's listening to our show right now, if there is ever a cause worth you pitching in and supporting as generously as you possibly can, this is it. Because don't think for a second that because your property may not be directly affected by this, or the Chico water aquifer, which could very well be contaminated, doesn't provide water to your parish, or maybe you're not concerned about billions of dollars of your tax dollars. Whatever it is, don't think for a second that this doesn't affect you, because it absolutely does. You have to remember that if they can violate the fundamental rights of John down the street or one parish over in a grossly unconstitutional way, the precedent is set, and I could be next. And you have to look at it that way. And you have to go and donate to Save My Louisiana. It's so critically important. This is a winnable suit, don't you think, Colonel?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And on what you were just saying, it's the incrementalism of the movement of government and the growth of government and what happens. So it doesn't apply to, none of this applies to you now, But what happens when the next thing comes up that has nothing to do with this, that takes away a little bit more freedom? You've already given up ground that you can't get back. We gave up during the whole COVID fiasco. We gave up lots of ground, and an issue like this is for many of us, it's a way to take that ground back, to say you can't just decide down in Baton Rouge or up in Washington what kind of freedom I can and cannot have. I get to vote on that. I get to be a part of that. And oh, by the way, you're going to be in compliance with the law. And so it's an incremental move that takes away more and more. Yeah, you're right. It might not be your aquifer, it might not be your land, but 5 years from now, it might be something that you're very interested in. And what are you going to say about that? This was an entire Republican legislature, allegedly Republican legislature, alleged conservatives, alleged faith-based men and women who decided that property rights not a big deal. We get to decide.
With zero
Yeah.
legislative debate in 2020 whatsoever. Zero.
Yep.
And Chris, on top of that, they wrote into law liability limits for these companies.
Oh, no, Gary, not limits. They gave them complete. There is no liability. It's worse than a limit. It's like, now you got no liability. At first, it was only 10 years. And then this is one of those big victories of the legislatures. We moved it from 10 to 50. Awesome. So in 50 years, Gary, that's probably your great-grandchildren. In 50 years, when something comes out of the ground, who do they take recourse against? Against the state? Nope, no liability there. Against the company that put it in there? Nope, no liability there. Too bad. Sorry.
Yeah. In 50 years, because
insane.
when the state takes it over in 50 years, Colonel, it's explicitly written in there, the state has no liability whatsoever for anything. So your grandchildren are SOL.
Yep.
That is absolutely despicable.
They absolutely are. Yeah. But this is an incremental. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Danielle.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to reiterate the thing. This is an incremental move to taking away freedoms. And if you're not, how many times, I specifically talked, and I know I may get some fuss about this, but I specifically talked to men out there because as men, especially as many of us conservative men, many of us from background of faith, we know that it is our responsibility to protect and provide. That's our job as men, to our families, to our communities, and that we should stand up and be a part of that. Many men have stood there and said, well, if they ever come for my guns, or if they ever come do this, or they ever come do that, it's never going to be the overt. But I'm telling you right now, they have come and the wolf's at the door. And what this wolf is after, who has been ushered to your front porch, to your front door by the legislature of Louisiana.
That's right.
And has been assisted by now this governor, the last governor, and this governor. These people have led this wolf to your door. And they're telling you there's nothing to see here. But now is your opportunity. And the question to you is, what are you going to do? They've come. You said you were going to get it. Well, here it is. What are you going to do about it? You may think I don't have the capacity or the ability to understand the law. It's above me, but I know it's a problem. Okay, that's fine. Then provide some resources to help out. Those resources can be your time, obviously can be your money. You want to see how we spend the money? Lots of organizations out there take money all the time and they don't give what they promise. You can come see how we're spending our money, and we want you to see that. We want to be as actual open and transparency, actual accountable, not the political version of it. You can come and see what we're doing, but part of your resources is your time. Get on there and read about what CO2 is about. Come show up at some of our meetings. Call your police juror. A lot of these people live down the street from you. Go knock on their door and say, dude, what is this thing?
Yeah.
So now is your chance to be involved. You said you would. Well, guess what? Here it is. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. One of the things also, speaking of giving of your time, is we have a very vigorous call to action on the LACAG page, lacag.org, that's going directly to the Army Corps of Engineers and also to the head of the Louisiana Conservation Commissioner, demanding that no permits for carbon capture sequestration be approved in the state of Louisiana. We've already had a couple of hundred of people who've sent emails, but please go to the Action Center at lacag.org and make your voice heard. This takes a minute, maybe 2 minutes to do this call to action. It's an email. We have multiple rotating messages, but you can also customize your own email and send it straight to them. I can tell you, having done grassroots advocacy for quite some time now, and I think Danielle would agree, that they respond to relentless pressure. They very rarely do things out of motives that are entirely pure, extremely rarely,
Yeah.
but they will do things if they feel like you can either hurt them politically or help them politically. And grassroots activism is a great, great way to get the message out there. So I cannot encourage call to action, lacag.org Action Center as well.
Yeah. And
You
I put
guys
it in
are
the chat.
outstanding. And put it in the chat. Yeah, for sure. Any last comments, Gary or Colonel Guillory, today?
Now, I just want to say that we are doing this. We are volunteers. None of us are getting paid for this. We are donating our own time, our own resources, late nights at the kitchen table, meetings together. We're doing this for you, Louisiana. We're doing it for you. We're doing it for our grandchildren. We're doing it for our great grandchildren. Immediately, we're talking within the next 5 years, if we don't stop this, we could see damage to our Chico aquifer if we allow this happen. It happened in Decatur, Illinois. Look up Decatur, Illinois, 2 injection wells already leaking. It's the only sequestration or permanent storage of carbon dioxide in the country, and they already stopped it because it was encroaching on the Mahomet aquifer in central Illinois. So don't think just when the colonel said 50 years from now that we'll have to deal with it. We're going to have to deal with this immediately because carbon dioxide will find its way north.
Yeah.
It will not stay where what they say it's going to stay. It will migrate and find its way to our sole source aquifer.
Yeah.
And when it gets there, it's too late.
Which supplies water, does it not, Gary, the Chico water aquifer to 15 Louisiana parishes?
Yeah, about 48% of the drinking water for drinking water.
For the whole
For
state. It's 48% for the whole state.
For the state.
Not just for those 15 parishes. Yes, right.
Right. All of the water for those 15. Right, Colonel?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah. Well, God bless you guys. I can't tell you. I say it all the time. It's such a pleasure to be in the fight with y'all. I have no doubt that with continued effort, perseverance, and courage, we're going to win. The citizens win when they come together in pursuit of a noble cause. And you guys are at the forefront, and it's great to be standing alongside with you. So God bless you both.
Thank you. Y'all too. Thank you for having us. Daniel, appreciate it.
Thank you. Chris, this issue enrages me like few others. I just am so incensed by the fact that our government is colluding with big industry to lie to the people and to defraud them of tax dollars. And, when Colonel Guillory said that the legislature and the governor has led the wolf to the door, they've led this wolf to our front door, and they are making absolutely no movement to fix the problem. I don't even know what kind of message they need to receive to understand that the people are not going to tolerate this. But I think we need to send a very strong message.
One of the messages, Danielle, I agree with you 100%. One of the messages that many of them need to be South Dakoted. And they're going to be, and we're going to be front and center on that with our advocacy work, with our political action committee, making sure that every voter in every district knows exactly what their representatives have done. Look, in South Dakota, it was 14, Danielle, and it could be that many or more here. I also think our governor needs to be South Dakoted, because he has demonstrated really an irreversible. I don't know that Governor Landry at this point, Danielle, could reverse course on this issue even if he wanted to, because I think he is so irreversibly compromised on the issue. And so I don't think we're going to get any help from that quarter. even if he recognizes that it could cost him his political career, which I'm not sure that he even recognizes. But
No.
the point is, there has to be major accountability here. I couldn't agree with you more. And the idea, Danielle, that we would have a government agency charged with protecting the health and interests of Louisiana citizens would be colluding with a private organization in order to make their application for a $300 million tax abatement acceptable so they can qualify for a tax abatement that they wouldn't be qualified for if the application included the actual language of what they're going to be doing. So they take that out, they get the tax abatement with zero commitment required from our government that they're not going to be doing the things for which they would have not qualified for the abatement to begin with. It
Yeah.
is extraordinary to me.
It is extraordinary. And I also want to touch on a couple other things. One is this no liability. The legislature just gave these companies the right to steal our property and then make it toxic where we live, and then not have to do anything to remedy that whatsoever. We have absolutely no recourse when these things explode, when these things leak into the aquifer. I can tell you one thing, Chris. The other place that they've given no liability is big pharma, right? The vaccines. And we've seen what that's done to our country over the last 30 years.
Absolutely. And one of our guests absolutely solidified that for us when he said that, there was an explosion in all of these proposed vaccines not within just a few years of big pharma being granted statutory immunity from civil liability. Once they realized that they cannot be sued, no matter how reprehensible, no matter how egregious, no matter how harmful or untested their products are, they don't care. We're
Yeah.
going to make a bunch of money and screw the citizens of the United States, their families, and their children. And that's what's occurring right here. And I think that that is a comparable analogy for sure to what's going right here with carbon capture and sequestration on an issue, Danielle, that I think is equally important.
Yes. Now, another issue, Chris, criminality. Is there reason to believe that there could be criminal suits brought against some of these people, specifically the person in the Louisiana Economic Development Office that suggested that they could fraudulently submit an application?
Well, I'll tell you absolutely, if it could be proven that there was collusion between the state and this private company to specifically eliminate a provision that would have caused them not to qualify for this tax credit, knowing full well that they had every intention of going forward with it nonetheless. That is absolutely criminal fraud on its face.
On
There's
its
no
face.
question. There's no plausible deniability there. And certainly the fact that the state did not demand a written commitment from this company that they're not going to do carbon capture sequestration certainly invites that conclusion.
Yeah. The last point I want to make, Chris, on this, at least I think it's the last point I want to make, is I was watching a show on Badlands Media this past week, and a gentleman named Chris Paul brought up a topic that I think is not talked about nearly enough, and I will start making this my new drumbeat here, which is the original definition of treason was rebellion against the sovereign. And in the United States of America, we are sovereign. The people are sovereign. The citizens are the owners, are the sovereigns of the nation. So it is fair, in my view, to say that the government is acting treasonously. These companies are acting treasonously against the citizens of Louisiana because they are an open rebellion to the will of the people, the best interest of the people.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, and I guess it really comes down to how you define rebellion. Rebellion is not necessarily taking up arms out on the streets.
Well, who needs
and
to if you poison the entire water system?
exactly. This is the very soft totalitarianism, Danielle, that Rod Dreher talks about in his book, Do Not Comply, which is a great, great book. They realized that the people would get up in arms and become very alarmed if their revolution was done in the same sort of using sort of the kind of naked aggression and brutality that was done, for instance, in the Bolshevik Revolution or the French Revolution. The people would catch on to that. So they're doing it much more subtly, much more systematically through the very institutions of a corrupt government. That's how they're doing it, and dressing it up and masquerading it in very attractive language, lying to the people to make them believe certain things that are simply not true. So it's the same ultimate objective, Danielle, and it is treasonous, but it's being masqueraded as something that it's not. And I think St. Paul, or maybe it was John, you would know this, doesn't he talk about beware of wolves that come to you as angels of light? Beware of ravenous wolves that approach you looking as though they are sheep.
Yeah. So I'd like to put our legislature, I'd like to put our executive branch on notice, Chris, because they need to shape up. They need to start responding to the will of the people. And if they don't, when we fix these elections, because we will, there will be severe political consequences, yes, but I believe there will be severe criminal consequences as well.
Yeah. And every day that passes, Danielle, when we don't hear loudly and clearly from our elected officials with regard to what is their position on this issue, this carbon capture and sequestration menace, is another day that our conclusion, our inference that they are all complicit in it becomes more and more solidified. They should be going to every town hall meeting. They should be reaching out to our governor relentlessly every day. There should be no question in the minds of these constituents about where their representatives and where their senators stand on this issue. It's not our responsibility, Danielle, to go search out what their position is. It's their responsibility to make it absolutely unequivocal which side they stand on this issue. Is it on the side of a corrupt government and corrupt industry, or is it on the side of hardworking Louisiana citizens? And there is no middle ground on this issue. There's just none.
That's right. And they are, quote unquote, elected to represent us. So represent us. Don't represent your interests. Don't represent the interest of some company that comes in from another state. Don't represent the interest of the lobby organization, because it is not a legitimate interest. The interests are of the citizens.
Absolutely. That is your sworn constitutional responsibility. You know, Danielle, John F. Kennedy wrote a book called Profiles in Courage, and every one of those stories of those men in that book involved them doing things that required enormous courage at great personal sacrifice. And I really can't think of an elected official in our state now that would belong in the pages of that book. And I think it's a sad, sad commentary. But we're going to keep moving forward. And Danielle, I've got to tell everybody who's listening to us now, please share the State of Freedom. This is a message that we've got to get out. There is no other venue. There is no other media outlet. There is no other podcast in the state of Louisiana that is telling you the truth about this issue that will profoundly affect you and your families generationally for so many different reasons. And that is why you must share, subscribe, and support the State of Freedom. Please do that, because all we need is this voice, but it has to resonate broadly. If this is the only real voice we have as far as news media that's telling you the truth on this, it's got to resonate. It's got to be broad. People have to know who we are and where we are so they can come to us and get the truth. You know, Danielle, Katie told me yesterday, she used to think that elections were the biggest issue in the state. You know what she thinks the biggest issue in the state and the country is now?
What's that?
Dishonest media.
Yeah, she's right. She's absolutely right, Chris. And this issue of carbon capture and this eminent domain thing has me so incensed. It just makes me basically want to erupt in flames. I don't understand how people could, I don't understand how people who have the, what, they have the responsibility to take care of us. They have the responsibility when they go to Baton Rouge. There needs to be a reverence at every single vote that's taken, a reverence for a tax dollar, a reverence for the rights that are enshrined in the state constitution and the federal constitution. And they are not doing that. They are not.
They are not. You're exactly right. They're not doing it, and they are allowing what Colonel Guillory alluded to, death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, liberty will die. But I believe that we can prevail here, and we can revive the flower of liberty in our state and in our country. But it
Yeah.
takes broad dissemination of truth. Knowledge is power, and we rely on our listeners and our subscribers and our donors and our supporters here to make sure that we continue to grow.
Yeah.
We're not asking you to do much. We're not necessarily asking you to become an activist. You don't have to become an activist. You can, from the comfort of your home, make a massive difference to us simply by going to freedomstate.us and becoming a monthly subscriber or a monthly donor, and sharing the State of Freedom with everyone you know. You have no idea how much that means to us and how valuable it is to us, because we have the information, we have the truth, but truth unshared you may as well not have it. We have to share it. And we have
That's
to have
right.
the ability to share it broadly.
Yep. Thank you, Chris. And a couple of announcements as well. Tomorrow, joining me on For the Love of Freedom is Dr. William Maquis. He is an incredible doctor who is healing people's cancer with ivermectin. He's treating cancer with ivermectin and other anti-parasitic medications. He's in Canada. He's been so persecuted, but he is doing amazing things. So you'll want to tune in tomorrow at 10 for that. Of course, no show on Thanksgiving. A very big happy Thanksgiving to all of you. We do, we can get really upset here. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and but the truth is, we're not ones who are just in despair. We are we are warriors. What do you call it? Joyful warriors, Chris?
Joyful warriors.
We're joyful warriors, and we have so much to be thankful for. We're thankful for you. We're thankful that you're watching. We're thankful that we're partnering with you, and that we are in this fight with people who share our values, share our faith. And all glory to God that we have made it to another Thanksgiving. And then I think I have one other announcement. Oh, yes. If you would, please go to freedomstate.us and click the button that says sign up to stay in touch or exclusive updates. We want to get your contact information so we can keep you posted on things that are coming, including our new exclusive membership program that is going to be very exciting. There's a lot of stuff that we're looking forward to doing, including Q&A discussions with me and Chris, and bringing guests on for you to interact with directly, and a lot more. So we're excited about that, but we want you to stay in touch with us. So go ahead and drop your email, get us your contact info so we know that you're interested.
And God bless you, Danielle. What a blessing, what a privilege, what a light you are in the world. And it's the great William F. Buckley, one of my heroes, has said, inveighing, we shall go.
Thank you, Chris. God bless you. Happy
bless you.
Thanksgiving.
You as well.
Meet the world's first living, full-spectrum, certified organic CBDA hemp extract. Ness's hemp oil was extracted from seed to bottle without chemicals, solvents, or heavy metals, and it surpasses world-class standards for purity. This pure and powerful CBDA has been proven to reduce aches and pains, ease mental tension, and promote better sleep. To get yours today, visit the Shop Our Partners page at freedomstate.us. Hey, Danielle Walker here. I'd love for you to check out my online boutique, Lux Lion. My mission for Lex Lion is to showcase innovative African designers and sustainable mission-driven brands. To do that, I bring you stunningly beautiful handcrafted jewelry and accessories from some of my absolute favorite places on earth. Small batch wholesale for storefronts is also available. Join me in celebrating African artistry and shop now at luxlion.us. Use promo code FREEDOM for an additional 10% off your purchase. Thanks for joining us today on the State of Freedom. Be sure and check out the show notes for this episode. You can always go there and find the calls to action and resources mentioned in the show, and you can find out more information about our advertisers there as well. If you want to learn more about us or support our work, visit freedomstate.us. To get involved with Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group, visit lacag.org. We'll see you next time. God bless.